This is Joe Crispin, former Penn State and professional basketball player. You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
I think you said that he could have gotten more separation.
There were some technique fundamentals in receiver that weren't perfect in the 80s. I had to throw a few points at Kresovich.
What was it like playing in March Madness? I mean, we have it going on right now.
But playing there was amazing. I mean, like, that's kind of your whole goal is to just be a part of that. It's such a special thing where the whole country is tuning in and anything is really possible, you know.
You know, my optimistic side said, like I said, that we're going to be okay. We just had a bad game. We're probably experimenting a little bit, ran into a good team. So.
If Miami came to our house, we would probably, if anything, win. We wouldn't get blown out.
When you first started playing football, you know, did you always want to play in college?
No, I was growing up. I was a big baseball guy. Loved baseball. And then 8th grade, I remember I got a call from my uncle, Coach Nagel. He's like, hey, I got the job. And I was just like, all right, I'll play football for you.
You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. It's as honest and as raw as sports talk can be. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
Hey, everybody, this is Greg Garrity.
So Anthony Lottie will punt it away from the 41. Greg Garrity is the deep man for Penn State at the 10-yard line.
Former Penn State receiver and 2016 Big Ten champion. You're listening to the best Penn State Nittany Lion podcast, the Mark Lesko Podcast.
All right, everybody. Welcome back in to another episode of the Mark Lesko Podcast, covering Penn State football. Going to talk Steelers Cowboys tonight because we're joined by Mike Kresovich. Once again, it's been a while, Mike, since we had you on.
Yeah, happy to be back. I know it's been a couple of years, but anytime I get to talk some ball with my boy, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on, man. It's always good to have you on, especially talking Penn State because you're a diehard fan too. But you have your own podcast, straight from the Kres. Have you been keeping up with that, right, Mike? I mean, I saw you were covering. I think it was Bowling Green.
Yeah. So we do a preview every Thursday. It comes out. We're on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. We do a preview and then a recap of the previous game. So, for instance, the episode that came out today, we recapped the Illinois game and previewed Penn State's game Saturday against UCLA. So it's a preview recap style, and we've been at it hard. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, definitely check that out, everyone. If you like Penn State football, which you do, you're listening to this show. Check out Mike's podcast. It's with Garrett Bastardi. Garrett Bastardi, what I know about him, he's really good at golf, and his dad is a famous meteorologist. So
yeah, world known.
He, I would always see him on Fox, Mike.
Oh yeah,
and well, he's in crazy shape. I always see him in the gym. But yeah, I remember he's always going down south, hanging out with some politician at a football game. And the first time I met Mr. Bastardi, he said, he was talking to me because I had a Bald Eagle wrestling shirt on.
Mm-hmm.
He said, oh, did you wrestle? I said, no. And he's talking to me about Quentin. And he said he was going to this thing with Jerry Rice. I'm like, Jerry Rice? Like,
yeah,
what?
Joe's an awesome guy. I've known him since I was a teenager. He trained a lot of the wrestlers at Penn State. And I was friends with Garrett first, and then later come to find out that Joe was very instrumental in the Penn State wrestling program, and just getting to know Joe. He's an awesome guy. And like you said, his physical shape is awesome. And if you would have seen the numbers he used to do when he was at a younger age, you'd be very impressed, just because that guy can move iron. I've seen him squat 300 plus pounds at his age back in the day. He's a monster.
He is, man. He's in crazy shape. I mean, he'll come into the gym, do some cardio, do some weights, and then he's out, and he's just super dedicated to it.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. You love to see it. But Mike, did you ever have well, I probably know if you did, but you were going to have Micah Parsons on your podcast, weren't you?
Yeah, so obviously being a Penn State guy and a Dallas guy, there's been talks. We have some mutual friends, but it's still in the works. It has been. Micah, before he had his own podcast, he would go on ESPN, and he cut that off his rookie year. But he doesn't do a lot of interviews, so it's still a work in progress. I still think he'll come on, but right now I don't like to reach out to him or the people that we know through each other during football season because I'm a Cowboys fan. I wouldn't want someone like me reaching out to them while they got to play for a team like the Steelers, which he isn't even playing this weekend in Pittsburgh. So
how long is he going to be out? You guys know?
So Dallas has a bye coming up. I would like him to be out at least to the bye. So you get 3 weeks off, including last week, this week, the next. And then they have the Niners right after the bye. So they're going right into it. So take the time. So
it's easier to find out about injuries in the NFL than it is for Penn State. So
yeah, you're telling me after all the chaos that's going on there inside the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, the MetLife Monster, man. That's had so many injuries.
Dude, Thursday football, and it aggravates me because being a Dallas fan, like every year it was always, and we know the injuries that have happened on the Washington field. Like we saw Alex Smith, RG3 go down. That crap would happen to Dallas every week in week 17. And it makes me mad because they played a terrible team like the Giants. And that's how they lost Micah, like to a terrible game, which I hate Thursday football to begin with because Dallas played Sunday, had to tackle Derrick Henry. All right, 4 days later, you fly out to New Jersey, and then you got to play a game on a Thursday. And it's just, I don't know, man. Thursday football is just brutal in the NFL.
I don't think anybody's life is worse than UCLA right now because they played – who did they play? Well, they just played –
Oregon.
Yeah, they're playing 3 ranked matchups in a row, and they're all over the place around the country. So
it's brutal.
And they're playing at 9 a.m. West Coast time for their fans to watch. So I think there's nothing more brutal than their fans.
One nugget on the schedule that I found at the beginning of the year, Penn State, when we have our bye week, when we come off our bye, we have to go to Wisconsin. But the week before that, Wisconsin has to go out and play UCLA. So it's a home game for Wisconsin, but Penn State's guys got a week of rest, and they don't have to travel to the West Coast. I mean, Penn State's been home for I don't know how many weeks now, and they don't have to fly out till they play USC. So,
Yeah, we got UCLA this week, and then we're at USC. Then we got a bye. Then we're at Wisconsin. So this is, we're in. This is pretty much the start of the meat of our schedule. I mean, Illinois was the start of the meat of our schedule, but we'll just get right into it. And that was frustrating. It's a good team we played. They were undefeated. The crowd definitely helped. We had a lot of dumb penalties. The play calling, man, is just okay. So, Mike, I'm gonna get both your thoughts, but the play calling has been pretty frustrating because Drew Aller is such a talented quarterback, and it's one thing that I've kind of come to a conclusion on. Right now, he's a game manager, which is totally fine. If we keep playing like we do, kind of managing games and not like putting up points, if we win a national title that way, I'm fine with it. Like that's totally fine with me. But if you're going to be losing to like USC or an Ohio State doing what you're doing now, then it definitely needs to change because the only thing that's making Drew Aller a game manager is Kotelnicki's play calling because his throws last week, like if you really watch what he was doing, his play was unbelievable. I mean, the windows he was throwing into, he was throwing no-look passes. He has a ton of zip on the ball. I mean, his arm is unbelievable. So if you let him sling the rock, man, he could do a lot of good. But I don't know. Maybe they're just not confident based on last year.
I still think
that's what he is right now.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think, like, I always account for, and West Virginia is not a good football team. Like, we found that out right away. I consider, like, the first 4 games, considering UCLA is horrible, who they play Saturday. The first 4 games are like the preseason to me because there's no preseason for college football. It's going to take some weeks to get their offense figured out. What Kotelnicki's been able to do is bring out a new side of Drew, which is love. But just like you said, my biggest gripe is he gets too cute. Like the third down in the early second quarter there, when they're running out of shot. It's like you have two of the best running backs in the country, like, and one of the best O linemen, especially when you're going against Illinois, which we saw Penn State dominate Illinois' defensive line. Like, give the ball to Nick Singleton. Don't make it. And it's awesome in unpredictable situations when they bring Tyler Warren in, but when they know it's coming, there is no need. You're oversimplifying what needs done. And I'm a big creativity guy. Like, Colt Nicky has brought a spark to Penn State's offense, but it's just take what's there. Don't make anything more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
we talked about that, Brett.
Yeah. So far, the good news is, like, so far, the Illinois game, like, Colt Nicky as a whole called the game really well. Like, he's like, we're just going to run the ball. But that was the worst game that he's called in my eyes so far, because there were telling third downs, like you're saying, that you're not even trying to score points. Like, you're just running the ball on 3rd and 7. Like, we got 3 yards on 2 runs before that. So why are you running it? Like, it logically makes no sense. So yeah, just certain points. I'm sure he's gonna look at some things, and you know what I'm saying. He's just trying to figure things out. But I'm not too worried about it. I think at the same time, they thought Illinois was going to play a lot of man, and they didn't. They were dropping back and playing a lot of zone. So that threw Colt Nicky off, I'm sure, and changed his game plan on what was going on. So I think there's a lot of things that go into it. I don't think they stopped passing because they didn't believe in Drew. Drew, he did start off really hot and then got a little finicky and made a couple not great throws. But he can also get back in rhythm if you have him under snap. If you keep switching Tyler Warren and Bo in there, like, he's cold then. Like, you're just a cold.
I hate that, man. Like, I love Bo Prabila. I think Bo's a great athlete, but they're forcing him too much in there. Like, it's too predictable when he gets in. It reminds me of when Penn State used Tommy Stevens in that Lion package with every time he was in the game. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, Drew's the best. He was the top recruit in the class, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in college. Why are you taking the ball out of his hands and putting it in someone else's hand? It's just the predictability when a guy like that comes in. It's like, okay, I get that. It's like he's not the starter. Don't try to cater to him. Like, he's a grown man. His feelings will not get hurt if he doesn't play a snap on offense, because he understands that we got this stud who's going to be in the NFL next year under center.
Yep.
Well, they put him at receiver too, dude. And I've said this, like,
yeah, that's the part that makes no sense to me. They're never going to throw. Well, they might throw to him once as a screen, and then he'll throw it to somebody else. But
it's a wasted body. It's a wasted body out there. You're playing 10 on 11.
Yeah, Mike. Did they ever put you at receiver when you played quarterback?
No, heck no. We didn't have the guys to do that, and I wouldn't have led it just because we were limited as it is. I mean, I played on a 24-man football team, but. Wow. We had a few trick plays, but we didn't line me up at wideout. Like, I would throw it to my buddy Charlie, and he would sling it the other way. But we did it when it was random and when you should. Like, they act like it's like magic out there. It was like, I remember there's a clip of Mark Sanchez out there when they put him out at wideout to block, and it's just like, the ball's not going to him. The corner literally ran up and just hit him in the mouth and knocked him on his ass, and it's just like, come on now, like, and that's fine to do with Bowling Green, Illinois. But if you do that against Ohio State, they're going to laugh at you.
Yeah.
Like,
seriously.
The only lucky thing is Drew's a big guy. And you saw what he did to that Jeremiah Trotter. Was it Jeremiah Trotter?
Yeah, you saw throw him into the dirt.
He could block somebody. He's a big dude. So I don't think anybody's pushing Drew over. But at the same time, there's no reason to do it in the first place. So I don't know.
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
But I think they're going to switch some stuff up. I mean, we'll be able to air it out against UCLA. So I'm at the game, so hopefully I can see that. So
Drew better be sitting on the bench with a cold Gatorade and a hot towel around his neck by the end of the third quarter.
I mean, dude, the thing too that I've said is, if you put Drew Aller out at receiver and he's a sitting duck basically, if barring a penalty, if I'm like a good team, I'm going to smack the living crap out of him and put him on the ground. I mean, he's a big guy, but why not, dude? Like, why not do that? I mean, it's your starting quarterback and he's sitting out at receiver. He's fair game, so I just think that's dangerous. And then, you guys already said it, but you bring in a cold Bo Prabila, you have a tight end running the ball, like, not in a good position. I mean, if you watch sometimes when Warren's running the ball, it's down here. I mean, and you got two just unbelievable running backs, like Mike said. I mean, I don't know. But I hope, Mike, do you think that this is being done on purpose, all this stuff? Like, they should be putting up way more points against Illinois, more points against Bowling Green, more points against.
Yeah, I think what I said.
You think they should have won by more?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Kent State, the defense just didn't show up. Bowling Green, they didn't show up. Maybe I'm getting them confused. Whatever the close game was, I believe that was Bowling Green.
Yep.
The defense didn't show up against Bowling Green. That was all on the defense, and they pride themselves one of the best units in the country. They played like garbage, and then they woke up in the second half. Like Penn State's allowed 9 points in the second half all year. 0 in the third quarter. But Kent State, they could have won by 150 if they wanted to. But I think, I mentioned earlier, it's preseason ball. Colt Nicky's seeing what's working. Like he got hired in the offseason and just had spring ball to work with these guys. But he wasn't dealt with the best wideouts to work with to begin with. Obviously, losing Keandre Lambert-Smith was big. As much as that sucks to admit, like he was a great athlete. Yeah, and I don't know what the deal with Fleming is, but Trey Wallace has played great. But outside of that, like we got guys like Liam Clifford who wouldn't touch the field at Ohio State, being instrumental on our offense. So I think he's doing well with what he's dealt with, and he's just trying to see who his guys are for when we get later in the schedule.
Mari Evans is going to keep flashing, I think. He's the deep threat guy.
He's a stud. I really like him a lot.
He needs to get a little better at not pushing off, but I mean,
all of them just kind of they made it harder on Drew this week, because what I usually watch, like as a quarterback, I'm watching the wide receiver separation, and even like Wallace, like watching him get off, like no one was creating separation, the line was protecting, the wideouts just weren't getting open. And props off to Illinois, like they schemed us well on the defensive side.
They have a really good secondary too.
They do. They have a very talented.
I'm not too worried about it because they have a really good secondary, but.
Yep.
They were getting open some plays, and I mean, they didn't, like we talked about, they didn't really go back to the passing. Colt Nicky could have schemed something up. He just went away from it, and so we're going to run the ball, and it worked for the majority of the game. Just certain calls, you got to throw the ball.
Yep.
I mean,
Overall, Penn State so far, and Jared Miller said it, my Steelers co-host. He said they have yet to show domination. Really, Kent State, they kind of did, but I just feel like they haven't really, like, our offense definitely doesn't have an identity right now. We have so many guys on our offensive line. Like, we could literally go head to head. In my opinion, Penn State's one of the best teams in the country, talent-wise. Coaching-wise, they're not, in terms of play calling, especially on offense. But we have so much talent. Like our O-line, we could go head-to-head with anybody in the country with how much talent we have on our O-line. Zane Durant he might be our best player on the whole team. I mean, he's a freak. And then you got Abdul Carter, you got Tony Rojas, you got our secondary, you got A.J. Harris. I mean, our team is – it's a ridiculous amount of talent, man, and that's a credit to Franklin's recruiting. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to live up to that. The reason we're so good is because of how much talent we have. But the reason that we're not better right now is because of the play calling, especially on offense. And it's really the coaching, in my opinion. Like,
I disagree with the play calling part. If you think about it, 1 out of 4 games, the play calling wasn't great. You can't say play calling is bad out of 1 game, out of 4 games. You know what I'm saying? It's only 25% of the season so far. So I disagree in that aspect. Like, out of the other 3 games, the play calling on offense was really good, I think, personally. I think we put up points. It was the defense that was struggling in the beginning of the year, and then the defense showed out this past game. And the offense should have scored more points, but you need a field goal kicker for one. And
I just mean identity-wise, it's been bad. Not that it's been bad, but because we don't have an identity, you know.
Yeah, it's preseason, like he was saying. They're trying all these plays and they're seeing what works. And then they're going to fine-tune that starting UCLA and moving forward, because then you got USC away. So then you're going to have to use your best plays for that. And Drew and the players are going to tell them we don't like this play, we like this play, and then they're going to bottle all the ones up that they like and use those ones. I think it'll work itself out.
So you think that now you don't think like Kent State or Illinois, they tried to fine tune the offense? You don't think that was the time to start it? But you're going off.
Like he said, we could have scored 100 points against Kent State. We took our starters out in the third quarter.
Yeah.
So we could have kept going. We didn't have to. I mean, there's no purpose.
Going off the preseason thing, like, Mike, do you think we're going to fine tune it against UCLA?
I wouldn't say necessarily fine tune. I think that's going to be. It'll take till. I mean, if you look at Drew's stat, I mean, you have it up there on the screen. Drew threw for 24, 26 touchdowns last year. He's on pace for 24 this year. But what you're seeing out of Drew is he's much more efficient than he was last year. He's making throws he didn't make last year.
That's crazy.
And that's the product of Colt Nicky. That's what he's going to bring to you.
He's I think 70%. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this week is another week where you see who's working at wideout, and then you get into the games against USC, Ohio State, and then you say, okay, well, remember back here we went up against a good Illinois secondary. This guy performed. This guy didn't do what we needed him to do, and I think that's when it'll come out. Like, I don't think they're keeping any play calls necessarily for later in the year. I think that's a weird way to go about it, and a common misconception where people are like they're saving it for this game. Like, I don't think teams do that. I think they have their plays they want to run. Like, Colt Nicky's been around. He's coached a lot of good teams, a lot of great players, as is James Franklin. Like, Franklin was in Green Bay coaching the top guys. Like, their football expertise is unrivaled. And I think what we're just seeing the next couple of weeks will be the combination of all these games going together and being like, this is what we want. This is how we're going to attack it. But I thought, personally, the West Virginia game, I thought their offense looked perfect. They dominated.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They dominated every way on the ground, throwing the ball, which is something Penn State hasn't been able to do in a while. With Trace, they were a great runner and love Saquon Barkley, but they were not that great of a running team when Penn State was there. They had an awful little line, but they had weapons everywhere where Trace was able to get away with it. And then even with Clifford wasn't a great passer, but we had the ability to run the ball whenever.
I agree with that. Brett. Yeah, I agree with that. They do, like, there might not be necessarily plays they're saving, but they can add plays each week that they haven't really, maybe that they tried in spring ball or fall camp and that they'll try to get better at. And there'll be new plays that we haven't seen, but it's not like that they're saving it for that opponent. Yeah, that opponent specifically. But they're gonna, like, each week is, like, I've heard players talk about, they'll learn new plays and try to incorporate that into the offense. So there'll be stuff that we haven't seen, but it's not going to be like a whole new playbook. So I agree with what you were saying. But, yeah, I think there'll be some stuff will be like, oh, we haven't seen that yet, just to, like, throw in the mix on important plays.
Yep.
I think I said this, Brett, previously, but it seems like with Singleton, they think that, like Saquon, once he gets to the second and third level, because they used to rely on Saquon's athletic ability to get to the second and third level, and then he'd make a play on his own. I think they expect Singleton, they almost are putting Singleton in that position, and he's not a Saquon Barkley type of runner, man. He's a north and south guy that has breakaway speed. So I've seen that several times, and one of the reasons I think why we don't see him break out and break off more runs is it's almost like they're not really setting them up to do so, in a sense. Like, you have some linemen getting to the second and third level, obviously, but it's almost like they put him in a position where they expect him to make a play, and he really can't because it's just not his style.
Well,
you know what I'm saying, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, what I like out of Singleton and Allen this year is they became receiving backs, and they never really saw that in the previous years. Colt Nicky was able to unlock them. They were always great blockers. I mean, we've seen the strength. We saw the chip block that I think it was Singleton or Allen had this past weekend. But they're using them in ways that I haven't seen, which I love that. But I haven't really paid attention too much to the utility in the run game. I think what they're doing is great, and they should just keep at it, honestly.
It depends on what defense the defense is in, whatever set they're in. So, like in the West Virginia game, those were designed big plays for Singleton. 40-yard touchdown run, it was designed to go far, and it worked. And then there was another one where a guy caught him, but he still ran for like 30 or 40 yards in that game. Mm-hmm. So there were designed runs, but it depends on what type of defense they're set in. But the fact that Singleton last year, he was getting like you only see him 2 or 3 yard run into a wall. This year, you're seeing him rip off 10, 12, 8. Like, he's ripping off big runs. They might not be all big runs, but it's hard to get all big runs every drive. You know what I mean? It's really hard to do that in college football. But he looks way more efficient. He like you were talking. He murdered 2 people in one play. The chip block. Yeah. He destroyed the defensive lineman and then went and just destroyed the guy to get the first down. That was a 3rd down play. That was a big play. So.
Yep.
What are you guys? What's your predictions for the game? Players to watch, score prediction. Like, what do you got?
Whoever wants to go.
Go ahead, Brett. You go first.
I would feel comfortable. I'll put it this way: if we can score in the 40s, I think that would be comfortable because we haven't really done that since Kent State. You know what I'm saying? We were scoring in the 30s. We need to get to the 40s, man, in this game, and I think we do. Amari Evans has a big one. I see Trey Wallace opening up. Julian Fleming and Clifford, I think one of them or both of them will get some catches. Singleton and if Singleton plays. I mean, he wasn't at practice, so we don't know why he wasn't there. Obviously, Franklin wasn't going to answer why. They might even sit him this game just so he's good for USC. You know what I mean? Like, you might have to. So, I mean, he was destroying people the last game. Maybe he's a little banged up. But if I'm going to put a score prediction, I think it's going to be, let's see, we need a field goal. They're going to have to try a field goal with Ryan Barker, the walk-on. So I'm going to say, what would it be? 45-10.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
Sexaco has a 42-10.
Yeah, I'm not too far off. I think I said like 37-6. They're not going to be able to score. They haven't scored more than 17 in the game, and they scored 17 against Hawaii, and they're only winning. Hawaii's horrible. I'm with you, though. I think it's going to be a big Amari Evans game. I think Julian Fleming probably catches his first touchdown of the season this game. I think this is a game that it's a coming out party for the wide receivers. Like I said, I want Drew to be on the sideline with a towel by the end of the 3rd. I say like 37-6, 37-9 around there, something like that. They won't be able to move the ball. Penn State's defense is going to get back. I know Dom DeLuca comes back this week, which he's our captain, the defense. Not best player, but probably our best mind out there.
Yeah, I would love to get to 40 points. I don't know if they will because I don't know, man. Like just looking at our scores so far. 34-12, 34-27, 56-0, 21-7. So I would love to get into the 40s. Even though it's UCLA, I don't think we will. So it's pretty much the same as Mike, like 37, maybe nothing, 37-6. Yeah, I don't think UCLA will be able to move the ball. But for us to get into the 40s, man, like I said, I would love that. And if they do kind of start molding this offense a little more to what they can truly do and, you know, they kind of just go out there and put up points, then yeah, they can definitely do that. They could probably put up 50 points if they wanted to, but yeah, I'd say the same thing as Mike, like 37-6, a couple field goals in there. Our kicking game needs to be much better. It's horrible right now, but yeah, so Mike, when do you think, you kind of already answered this, but when do you think they find their identity, the offense / just, do you think they're going to do something different every game pretty much? Or
I mean,
they better catch up to them?
They better find it before Wisconsin or Ohio State's going to beat us by 30 because that team's talented out the ass. They're loaded, and they have Chip Kelly, who is one of the best college football offense coordinators right now. He obviously through Oregon, I mean, he was a disaster in the NFL, but he's still an offensive mastermind. He puts the player, and the Smith kid, the freshman, is I'm hearing he's going to be just as good as Marvin Harrison was, maybe even better, which is wild to say because the kid's a freshman. But they got to figure it out before Wisconsin. I hope by then that's when our offense fully clicks, and they got 3 games to do it. Yeah.
So, go ahead, Brett.
I don't know about. I mean, if we lose by 30, we haven't lost by 30 to Ohio State in how many years has it been? You know what I'm saying?
4, 5. But I mean,
it's been a while.
So last year was our best chance to beat Ohio State, and we couldn't do it. And this year they
They haven't played anybody though. I mean, Michigan State.
No, but
they haven't played anybody. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's a wait and see game for me.
Exactly. But I mean, right now, if I had to pick, I mean, I don't feel good about them. I never have, just because they're a team. Like, we had the fortune of not being able to play Michigan, even though Michigan this year is a down year. But when I went through Penn State's schedule, I had them at 10-2 with 11-1 realistically, but there's always a slip up game, as we know every year with Penn State. When you count them, there's a slip up that happens. So we'll see. It's going to be a good game, but from what I've seen, Ohio State. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Luckily, I think our trench play is better this year, to be honest. Like, all around. Our offensive line without Olaf Fashanu and Caden Wallace, even with their offensive line with them last year, we didn't dominate defensive line like we did this past week. We didn't do that last year at all. We did not look like that.
No, not at all. But also, Drew didn't even account for a touchdown against Ohio State, and he's got to play better this year, because if we don't throw a touchdown, we will lose by 20. It's a no shot. Like, if you play Ohio State and don't account for a touchdown passing, you're going to get busted, because their fourth best wide receiver right now would be our wide receiver 2 at Penn State.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think we have a couple weeks to figure some things out, and I mean, we just gotta hope that it happens. You know, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, Oregon only put up 34 against UCLA. So if we can put up more than that, then Oregon's not that good.
No, I'm not high on Oregon at all.
But yeah, Mike, I agree with you. Like, the defense can only do so much. They did it last year. Daquan Hardy had like the game of his life against Ohio State.
Yeah.
And then you know, like this is why, like, okay, so I'm going to look at our scores and look at Ohio State's. I know Ohio State hasn't really played anyone, but this is why I get so mad when we play these inferior teams. We don't put up more points, and like you just said, I don't know if we're going to find an identity before. Like, if we don't find an identity with our offense and we establish what we need to do, like USC, we're in trouble. Wisconsin, we're in trouble. Ohio State, we're in trouble. And Ohio State, again, it's Ohio State. I mean, what reason do we have to believe that if we don't do well on offense and have an identity that we're going to have a shot at winning? Why would we? It's Ohio State, man. Like, so I wanted 40, 50 points against West Virginia. I wanted way more than 34 against Bowling Green. I wanted like 60 or 70 points against Kent State. I wanted like 40 points against Illinois. And you know what I mean? Because Ohio State, this is who I compare our team to. Like, you have to, man. If you want to beat them, you have to like compare 52-6, 56-0, 49-14, 38-7. That's on the road, you know, and that's more than we scored against a good opponent this whole year. So that's where I get frustrated, man, because if we don't find an identity and we don't establish what we're going to do, then it's going to catch up to us big time, and it's just going to be. I think it's going to be too late by the time you get to that point. And here's another thing, Mike. Why Ohio State just got the number one receiver in this class? They got the number one receiver in the next class. They basically get Alabama type talent. Like, why can't we do that?
Because I think outside of the wide receiver position, Penn State does a great job at developing guys for the next level. But if you look at Ohio State, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, the list goes on of who's producing at the next level. Penn State's best tight end is Chris Godwin, who was there, 2014, 2016, obviously, as part of the Big Ten team. But it comes down to that. I mean, we'll get the edge rushers and we'll get the linemen and the linebackers, but Ohio State's always going to be. I mean, Julian Fleming was a PA kid. He's from Southern Columbia.
Yeah.
Like, he went to Ohio State. The only reason he's at Penn State is because he wasn't touching the field at Ohio State. He wasn't and it's nothing against the kid. He's a great athlete, but he saw the writing on the wall. Like, he wouldn't have sniffed the field. And it's just the product of who's there and who they had coming in.
It's Brian Hartland. It's Brian Hartline. We talked about it. You can't beat the guy. It's just, it is what it is. Until he falls over and dies, like, which I hope he doesn't, die. But until it happens, like, you're not out recruiting the guy. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the rest of the season goes. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Like, who was that? Who was that former Penn State receiver, or not Penn State, former Ohio State receiver who was a Democrat senator in Ohio? You know what I'm talking about?
Not off the top of my head. I do not.
I don't know if it was
Played for the Steelers?
no, Ohio State. Brett, you know what I'm talking about?
He was a what? You said Democrat?
He was a Democrat senator in Ohio, yeah. Anthony Gonzalez.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just bring that up because he made the news for something. Like, he was like,
No, I
like,
didn't know much about his political
he was
career there.
he was way left leaning on like the whole COVID thing, but this is a pro Trump podcast, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. But Mike fits right in with that. But yeah, I care. I don't know why, but he was in the news for something. But Anthony Gonzalez, but Brian Hartline, dude, like, man, he's something.
Yeah,
he's something. He's like Wes Welker of Ohio State football. You know, he's like this. Well, Wes Welker, he's not doing good right now because they lost their quarterback. But I mean, we were speaking about Thursday Night Football, dude. Like, talk about Tua Tagovailoa, like, what, his like 17th concussion or something like that, and the guy's like, just that's bad. What's going on?
Yeah,
with him.
apparently he's supposed to come back
young.
like week 8, but he's an idiot. He should retire.
25 or something. Like, he's young. I mean,
He's very young.
I mean,
yeah.
As someone who's had concussions, I'm sure, Mike, you did too.
Yeah.
I've had 3 registered concussions, but I think I've had more than that.
Mhm.
But when you're like on the ground and your fingers are like this, and you're like reaching,
yeah, that's God in your brain telling you something.
that is bad. That's really bad. That is not a good sign at all.
I had a theory when you were talking about like not putting up as many points. I mean, this could just be a theory too, but for how many injuries we've had already too, I think they're just like, maybe they're just taking it easy. They're trying to get some guys back because, dude, we've had so many injuries already, and it's like, if you keep going hard and hard, like, what, you're gonna have to do that against better teams. But we knew we were gonna beat these teams without trying as hard. You know what I'm saying? So. Maybe they're trying to save some bodies, man, because God forbid, Drew or Harrison Wallace or Tyler Warren get hurt, then we're really screwed. So I don't know. It's just a theory. I don't know, but that's my thought on it.
Mike, do you know what I'm saying about like the whole points comparison between Ohio State?
Yeah. I think you got to look at a lot of things. I think you got to look at who they're playing, what we're playing, who they have, who we have. Like, we're a defensive team with a good quarterback. I mean, Drew is played great this year, but he can make or break his career. If he has a great year this year and leads us to the playoff, wins a playoff game, he'll get drafted. He'll be one of the top quarterbacks. But if he plays like he did last year, where he was in that game manager, well, he'll be in Happy Valley next year. And I think a lot of it comes down to that. And I think there's a lot of ways to win. Like, if you watch, like we're going to talk about next, if you watch the Steelers win, they predicated themselves on a good defense. If you watch the Chiefs with Mahomes, during his first 2 Super Bowls was him. The last Super Bowl was their defense. I think there's many ways to win football games, and it's just Penn State and Ohio State just win in different ways. Like, I think you can look around the country, look at a lot of teams and say this team isn't scoring, but their defense is playing much better. But I mean, Ohio State hasn't even given up. We've given up more points in a game. Ohio State's given up the entire season. But only time will tell. So we'll see. It's still early in the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have anything else to say about Penn State?
That's about it. I mean, they're going to wax UCLA. UCLA's horrible. New first-time head coach. Not a whole lot to say about it. I'm ready to move on if you guys are.
Yeah. Zach Seiko said he expects them to run the ball 50, 60 times. I think it will be a heavy run, but if they can, man, I think they need to throw the ball and
air it out.
Get your confidence. I mean,
they need to be aggressive on first and second down and run the ball on third down. That's what they need to do. That's the rest of it. Just get ahead of the sticks. Avoid third down. That's how you're going to win. Just don't face the third down.
Yeah, like Adam Sandler said in The Longest Yard, you play an easy team, beat the piss out of them, get your confidence up. Yeah, that's what they need to do with Aller against UCLA. Get his confidence up.
Yeah.
If he throws for 250, I'll be happy. If he throws for 220, 250, that's fine. Anything less, if he throws for 130 or 140 again, like he did last week, which it wasn't his fault. That's what they wanted him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll be pissed because they didn't call more passing plays, but we'll have to see.
I don't know what it was with Yursich. I almost wanted to ask him at the Spikes game when I saw him, like, yo, dude, like,
why do you suck?
I'm not trying to be like a mean, but what happened against Ohio State? What happened against Michigan? Like, what were you thinking? But he's there.
He got out schemed. That's what it was. I think I've never met him. Nothing to say about his personal life. He just didn't work out at Penn State.
But I mean, I knew this would happen this year, and I don't know if it's a lack of confidence from Kotelnicki on Drew Aller, but I knew they would run the ball a lot, as they should. But you also have to establish confidence with Drew Aller. But I don't know if it's like a confidence thing with Kotelnicki. I don't think so. But like, I just want to see him sling the rock, man. What I love about football is, and everybody loves this about football, but like long runs, great football, great passing plays, long throws, like that's what I want to see. And we just haven't really seen it. But last thing, Ethan, is it Ethan Garbers?
Yeah.
He might not start. We don't know yet.
Yeah. But look at his stats. Look at his stats, bro. Like, that's horrible. He's 67 for 117, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Like, it's
not good.
That's bad.
But I think his offensive line is terrible. So, I mean, we should be able to eat on Saturday. So.
Abdul Carter will have 4 sacks, I think.
Yeah.
I need to see more out of Deny, man. Deny's been okay, but he needs to be dude, he's 270 pounds. Get in there. Get in there and get some sacks. I need to see more from him.
I mean, obviously Abdul's going to be out by the end of this year, but I would love to see this 22 class come back because, man, this class is so stacked. The fact that we have Deny and Abdul at ends is that's not even fair.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both freaks, but both 5-star guys. But
Abdul's he's gonna have a career in the NFL. He's gonna be a stud. He's gonna be a Micah.
Yeah.
He's a stud.
I think he'll be better than Micah. I think
no.
You don't think so?
No.
Because I think
he gets to that level, man. He's just as fast, same body type.
He won't. I mean, he'll probably get drafted. He won't go top 10, but I think he's a first rounder. But I don't know.
About it. Abdul's been. Micah wasn't in college that long. He played 2 seasons. So
he needed to play another one. If he would have played a third one, yeah.
Abdul has done more in college because he's been in college longer. So
I know that.
It's hard to say. So I don't know.
But Mike also had one of the best rookie seasons in NFL history. If Abdul does, I'll be happy. He's not. He's not Micah, but he's close.
He's not getting the Wish version or the T-Move version. But he can still be really good.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Absolutely.
Penn State.
What they did with go ahead. What they did with Abdul last game, you got to play the way he played last game, spying the quarterback and playing edge, going in the middle where center is. Do he's a hybrid player. Do that exact play with him the rest of the season. Don't keep him at edge every play. 100%. Keep him a spy and edge because we have edge guys who can get after the quarterback.
Yep.
Him as a spy, he's spiking balls down. He's a decoy almost. Like the offensive, I watched the one play. He set it up for Zane Durant. The one lineman saw Abdul there and lost his focus, and then Zane Durant went right through and smacked the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the best way to play him.
Game changer.
Play him at both.
Mike is obviously a freak, and I'm a fan of his game. But dude, for me, in terms of because Micah, we didn't really see Micah that much in college. For me, it's in terms of number 11s, it's LeVar, Abdul, Micah, and then Navarro Bowman. I mean, that's my top list of number 11s, bro. I think Abdul is such a freak, and I don't know, man. I think Abdul is going to be a top 10 pick. I do, even though he's not playing that well right now.
I hope
he's mocked for top 15 right now.
Yeah,
because the mocker came out. Yeah,
and the draft class next year is horrible. So it's nothing. It's awful.
Yeah.
So he'll find a good spot.
It's so bad. Luther Burden could be the first pick.
Yeah.
But Mike, we'll get into the Steelers, and then we could jump off. But
sweet.
Yeah, we got Steelers Cowboys.
Talk some pro ball, baby.
Yeah, Mike's definitely Cowboys fan, an NFL guy. Brett's a Raiders fan, and we might be getting his best player here soon. But
I'm going to cry. Well, I'm already crying because we beat the Ravens and then lost to the Carolina Panthers. But
that's why you can't gamble on the NFL, bro. The Cowboys have let me down twice this season.
I don't touch it. They don't look good. I don't know.
I had Cowboys money line against the Saints, and that was just I don't know. But
any given Sunday, brother. Any given Sunday.
That's right. So, Mike, you think it's going to be an under type of game?
I mean, it's two offenses who Dallas they're throwing to guys worse than Drew Allar's throwing to right now. Brandon Cooks is out Sunday. They got Jalen Brooks and Jalen Tolbert out. I mean, CeeDee Lamb's he's a top 5 wide receiver. It's no doubt there. But outside of him, Dak's best targets, their tight end, Jake Ferguson. And then the Steelers, like Najee doesn't have a touchdown this year. I mean, Justin Fields had them at 3-0, but it's Justin Fields. Like he will do well with the Steelers because the Steelers have a great roster and they have a great front office and a great coach, but it's Justin Fields at the end of the day. And Dallas's defense, they didn't allow a touchdown last week against the Giants. And they allowed 7 points in the second half against the Ravens 2 weeks ago after the first half. But yeah, I don't see many points being scored here, but I actually went back and watched each of the last 4 Steelers-Cowboys games, and it came down to the last 2 minutes in every single game that they've played since 2008, from when Romo threw a pick to 2012 when Dallas won in overtime when Ben threw a pick to 16 when Dak and Zeke went up to Pittsburgh, beat them as rookies, and 2020 when you guys were 7-0, we were 2-6, and we almost beat you guys. You guys won on a last-second field goal, essentially. But it's going to be a good game. I'm excited. It's Sunday Night Football. A lot of friends that are Cowboys friends, even more than Steelers friends. I got a lot of – I'm just excited to watch it. That's for sure.
Yeah, Sunday Night Football, man. I remember, I think it was Christmas Day the last time Zeke ran the ball in there at the end, and I almost threw a cup through my TV screen because I was so mad. Dude, Zeke, I hated him because that's what he did, dude. He would beat you in the last minute of the game. I hated him so much, but he was good. And he's Ohio State guy too.
Good news for you, he's not the player he was back in 2016. He should not even be on the roster. It was Jerry Jones has a weird obsession with him. He should be I would be fine with him if we had a legit number 1, but we don't. The issue is Dallas's backfield's horrible. Yeah. Like he'd be perfect in Pittsburgh. He'd be perfect behind Najee. Like take Najee off the field on 3rd and 1, give Zeke the carries. Because Zeke is still block and he's still a tank. Like you can't tackle Zeke 1-on-1 in the hole. Like but he's just a straight runner. He can't move anymore.
The funny thing about Zeke now is there's a bunch of random running backs that nobody even knows on all NFL rosters. I would take any of those guys over Zeke right now.
Yeah, just 100%. Which is weird because he'll probably I saw this past week when they were talking about Derrick Henry will be the last 1,000-yard back. Like Zeke or 10,000. Zeke only needs like 1,200 more yards to hit that. But the issue is I don't think he will. But if Zeke was the best running back in football from 2016 to 2018, and he won 2 rushing titles, NFL All-Pro. Like the only guy that comes close since LT Chris Johnson was Derrick Henry in terms of domination. But it's just weird because he's completely fallen off. That's the shelf life of a running back. You get the best years, you don't re-sign him after, and you let him walk, and you draft a guy and just let him go.
I was the biggest LT fan growing up, man. That was my favorite.
LT was sick. He was fun to watch.
Man.
Well,
loved it.
I've said it before on the Steelers Central with Jared, and they need to trade Najee and Russ and get something. Najee he's horrible. He's a bust, total bust.
You could probably get a couple packs of gum for him, but that might be about it.
I think you're getting, especially for Russell Wilson, they might give you someone. I mean, they're not. They might tell you to keep Russ. He's been horrible since he left Seattle. I like him. He's a good locker room guy in Pittsburgh, I'm sure. I mean, he's the corniest dude in the NFL, but I mean, he's a good guy to have around.
He's if you think about it, man, he's in a perfect spot right now to mentor Justin Fields, and he's not even playing, bro. He's basically a coach right now. He's a coach that wears pads. Like he's a weird dude, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, Pittsburgh's they've been lost since Big Ben left at quarterback, obviously, and that's hard to Like Big Ben was the guy for the years, and then of course
They hate him.
after that, yeah, oh yeah.
Right.
They hate him.
But
He-
if
He was
Pittsburgh
just got you.
like Pittsburgh went to the playoff with dudes like Trubisky, Pickett, like guys that if they had a good quarterback, they would win. And it's been the same Steelers offense. You watch the last 3 years, even Ben's last year. Ben couldn't do much his last year, but that's why I'm like I have a little bit of confidence in Dallas just because I'm like, listen, if at the end of the day, if Dak Prescott, NFL MVP runner up, led the NFL in touchdown passes, or Justin Fields, who is Justin Fields. But that Steelers defense is legit. I mean, I saw that Highsmith is out, which is going to help Dallas big time just because Highsmith is like the dude on that like TJ Watt's awesome, but Highsmith can do way more than TJ Watt can do. He is way more versatile than TJ.
I mean, bro, we got Highsmith, Queen, and TJ Watt. I mean, that takes us back to like the Joey Porter days in terms of how much talent we've got at linebacker. But like, you know, the thing about Dallas, man, is like I'm not a Dallas hater. Like I like Dallas. You like Mike's a Dallas fan, so like I'm not going to cheer against Dallas unless we play him. And Mike's a big Dak Prescott fan, and like, dude, I like Dak Prescott, man. Like I think he's I don't know what he's inconsistent, but he is a good quarterback. He is, man. Like he's talented.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, like you look at like the whole thing in the offseason, like when Dallas lost to Green Bay, everyone's like, Dak needs to go. Dak can't win. It's like, okay, if you don't want Dak Prescott, who are you going to go get? Like, who are the realistic quarterbacks right now that are better than Dak? Like, I would think Mahomes, I would say Josh Allen. Like, there's not many that are like definitely you would take over him. And like Stroud's too young to judge. Dak won as many games as Stroud did his rookie year. But that's the thing. Like it's the front office's inability to put people around him. And I hate Philadelphia. Can't stand Philly, but the way Philadelphia runs their football team is the way every team should. Like if you look when Jalen Hurts went to that Super Bowl, they traded for AJ Brown before they had him there. They had everyone else around him, and they surround their quarterback with good guys, and that's what Dallas has failed to do. So
the biggest thing I hate about Dallas is Jerry Jones needs to go.
Everyone, dude, you're preaching to the choir here.
He needs to go. If he goes, I'll be happy.
The issue is when an owner owns the team, it's hard to get rid of a guy, you know?
Terrible.
Every time I turn on the TV, bro, every time I turn on ESPN, Jerry Jones is doing a press conference. It's like, dude, stay off the screen. What are you doing? Like, what do you have to do?
He doesn't know his ass from the hole in the ground about football. I listen. Oh my God, I listen to his
practice in his helicopter mid practice. Dude,
I hate Jerry Jones, but I thought that was badass. I thought that was cool.
What do you do?
He pulled his helicopter right to the practice field. They had to stop practice yesterday because he pulled up with his helicopter. But like I was listening to Jerry Jones before the Ravens game, and he said, yeah, they were in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. It's like, man, they haven't been in the Super Bowl since 2014. So it's been a minute. Yeah, but I mean, it's Jerry Jones not putting guys on the team who gives them the best chance to win. And as long as they're floating around that area of contention and they don't suck, Jerry Jones is fine with it because they're making money. They're the most watched team. It's the best stadium in the NFL, and he's happy with it. So
I mean, that's where the Steelers are, man. Like they don't suck enough to get a good draft pick, but then they barely make the playoffs, lose in the first round, and they get a bad draft pick. Like it's a never-ending cycle, and I'm so fed up with it. I mean, Mike, we'll get our score predictions for Steelers Cowboys, but I am not. I'm pretty fed up with Mike Tomlin too. I mean, we haven't won a playoff game since 2016. And what other coach besides Marvin Lewis and like John Harbaugh would still have their job if they hadn't won a playoff game since 2016? I mean, I don't get it, dude. I'm sick. And we had Ben, Brown, and Bell, 3 Bs. Yeah. We had 3 potential Hall of Famers on our offense. And what did we do with it?
Nothing.
One playoff game.
I'm not a Mike McCarthy fan. Like Mike McCarthy, I mean, he beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl, but we're about 5 years past Mike McCarthy right now. And I love the hire because he said all the right things, said what he was going to do. Nothing's happened, and he's a puppet right now of the Joneses. But I think if Mike Tomlin had a quarterback, I think the Steelers would have a Super Bowl in the last 8 years. I just think, like I mentioned earlier, like after Ben left, I was like, they're not going to win. Like they weren't even winning with Ben, who's a top 10 quarterback of all time, I think. Like they're not winning. They were never going to win with Pickett ever. The guy's he will never start more than 4 games in a season the rest of his career, let alone Fields.
Fields was a horrible pick.
Like horrible. Chicago, I understand he didn't have the players in Chicago, but like I don't know, man. Like that's why I'm happy. The whole week I was worried. Then I was like, wait, they don't even have Ben quarterback. Like it's Justin Fields. Like unless he plays the best game of his life, I'm confident, but we'll see.
Well, I've always said this. I think any good player who comes out into the NFL, and Michael Parsons is a freak, but you put him on the Steelers, he's going to be like a great player. Trevor Lawrence would be better on the Steelers. Justin Fields would be better on the Steelers. Like any player, Saquon would be better on the Steelers. I mean, maybe not now, but because he's with the Eagles. But you take any of these top talented players, put them on the Steelers, they're going to be better because they develop guys. I mean, Highsmith was a 4th-round pick. Deontay Johnson's like a 4th-round pick. Juju, Chase Claypool, Antonio Brown, all 2nd and 6th-round picks. I mean, they develop guys. So Justin Fields on the Steelers is better because he's on the Steelers. So I have confidence in him, but I don't know, man. I don't know what the score is going to be. I don't know if they're going to win. I knew they would lose last week because they're playing Indy. They should have. That's the easiest team they had on their schedule, and they lost. I knew that would happen.
I mean, Joe Flacco came in and turned the clock back. I was funny. I was watching it, and I would text my one Steelers friend, and I was like, dude, he's like, Anthony Richardson's out. We're going to win. I was like, dude, I would rather face Richardson than Flacco. I was like, these dudes prepped for Richardson all week. Then you got a veteran guy coming in here running the offense who knows Pittsburgh's scheme, who played against them for 10 years in Baltimore, which Steelers have ran the same defensive scheme since 2000. Like it's the same stuff. It's the same heavy blitz. It's the same smash mouth football. But yeah, I mean, I was watching that Steelers game, and that's where I got hope. I was like, the weeks leading up to it, after they announced Micah was going to be out, DeMarcus Lawrence, now Brandon Cooks, I was like, I was worried. And now I thought about it. I was like, I watched this team. I'm like, it's a winnable game. But I'm with you, man. I think it's a coin flip, and I don't know who's going to win. I'm praying and hoping that Dallas wins, but I could see it going either way.
Yeah, I agree. I got like, I don't know, dude. Like 17-14 Pittsburgh, like because I think the Steelers are going to win.
Yeah.
And it's at home. Acrisure is really loud.
I
think a great stadium to have home field advantage.
I texted you earlier or a couple of days ago. I was like, I think the Steelers are going to win 13-9 with some weird TJ Watt fumble late. But I think it's a race to 20. Like if Dallas scores 25 points, it's over. Pittsburgh's not scoring more than 20.
No.
Like it all comes down to Dallas's offense. If Dak can somehow move the ball, it's over. But it's going to come down to that because I know damn well if Justin Fields getting a shootout, it's Dallas by 20 because they're not. Fields ain't putting up numbers.
No.
The score's going to be 2017. I don't know who's winning, but
I like that. I agree with that.
2017, man.
16-16 tie.
Like the thing is, man, like you said with the Eagles, they need to give Justin Fields another weapon because there's no way on God's green earth Steelers are going to win a Super Bowl anytime soon. But if they got him another weapon, that would just make him that much better.
I love George Pickens. George Pickens is fun to watch. He's a head scratcher, but he's a number 2. Like he's very good in Pittsburgh, but he's not a top 20 wide out in the NFL. He is not. It's just simple. But I would love Pickens in Dallas, absolutely. But like you said, they need more weapons around him, and that's why I lean to the Cowboys because even though Dallas's backfield stinks, I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb and Dak over Justin Fields and whoever they throw out there. And you got to score points in the NFL to win. So
if you guys get Adams, you'll be chilling.
I think he's a Jet. I think he's going to be a Jet.
Yeah, I think he's following Aaron Rodgers around like
he's a Jet.
he followed Aaron Rodgers around. He followed Derek Carr around. Now he's going back to the Jets. It's like, I don't know.
I mean, I don't blame him. I know, Brett, you're a Raider fan, but if I was him, if I was Max Crosby, I would get the heck out of there because it's
Max Crosby's so good, man. He was hurt last week.
He's so good. He's so fun to watch. I love watching him. And they got dogs there. The issue is, like, I don't know. Like, you need a quarterback to do anything. And love.
And they didn't get one in the draft. They just didn't get one. They're like, oh, we're not going to get one. Like, all right, cool.
Not at all.
Mike, you have anything else to say about Steelers Cowboys?
I think it's going to be I'm happy that the rivalry's renewed. I think football is better when the Steelers and Cowboys play. I'm going to be eager as heck Sunday because the game's at 9 a.m. The London game, it's not till 8 o'clock. I'm going to be antsy, running around the house all day, ready for it to kick. I think it's going to be a good game. It's going to be smash mouth football. I think some weird plays are going to happen, but that's about it. I'm ready to watch some football. That's for sure.
Yeah, I saw your dad there in the gym the other day, and he was reffing the Bald Eagle Penn Valley game.
Oh yeah,
and I went to it, and
oh yeah, he's everywhere. He's everywhere. He is. How about Belfont beating Bald Eagle? That was pretty shocking.
Yeah, that was because he actually told me, your dad. He said Bald Eagle's going to beat him by 3 touchdowns.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, because Bald Eagle's good, and like
I watch every Bald Eagle. I throw it up on the YouTube here. I watch Steve Miller every Friday. I watch him.
Yep. Yeah, and you were on there a couple times. I think when they played Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
You came on and you had a spread. I think the spread, you gave Jersey Shore a 21-point spread or something like that.
And they won by 28. And I got yelled at.
Yeah, they won by. I thought they won by like 40 points.
They did. They blew them out. But I was like, I'm a Bald Eagle guy. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Admit. And my cousin Braden was on he was a freshman at the time, so I was like, I can't do that. I was sitting with my cousins in the crowd there. So,
are you still hitting the gym pretty hard?
Try to getting after it.
Yeah, I actually met Brett in the gym.
Oh, nice.
Dude, you know how we were just talking about this earlier. Brett, he came up to me in the gym. He goes, "Hey, I watch your podcast."
That's awesome.
And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." And then
that's awesome. That's a good compliment.
Well, I met him at GNC initially, but like that's the first place I met him was GNC.
Awesome. Hired him on the spot.
Yep.
Nah. Appreciate you boys having me on. It's been a blast.
Man. Yeah, Mike. Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. It's really good to have you on.
Thank you.
You know, just to end real quick, my fantasy team, Baker Mayfield is my backup, and Joe Burrow is my starter. I started Baker tonight, and I have Mike Evans, and I have 38 points so far in Smitty's league.
Yep.
And Baker's got three TDs. Mike Evans got 2 TDs. So I'm roasted Scott Butler right now. So.
Oh no.
How's Goblin? Dude, Goblin's been killing it this year. Chris Goblin, he's been killing it.
Yeah. But all right, guys, thanks for coming on.
All right, fellas.
Longer than I expected, which is good. But you guys have a good night.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys have a good one.
Take it easy.
Good meeting you, Mike.
See you,
yeah, take.
See you, Mark.